So can you think of an experience that goes deep enough that is truly life-changing? So positively life-changing. An experience that could make us more human. So when the first astronauts came back from space, this is the kind of experience they reported having. They had these deep feelings of awe and wonder, and despite being so far away, they really felt more connected to Earth. Edgar Mitchell stated, "We went to the moon as technicians, we returned as humanitarians." You develop an instant global consciousness, a people orientation, an intense dissatisfaction with the state of the world, and a compulsion to do something about it. From out there on the moon, international politics looks so petty. Isn't that the kind of experience we wish more people would have? I mean, especially in the light of current politics, increasing rhetorics of hate, isolationism, separatism, but also destruction of our environment. But, I mean, as much as I like to, I'll probably never be able to physically go up there, and most of you probably neither. So, is there a way we could use immersive technologies to give people at least a glimpse of such an experience? It has been coined the overview effect by Frank White a while ago. So imagine we could give people at least a glimpse of that experience without having to shoot them out there, without all these incredible cost, carbon footprint, and risk. Imagine we could bring such experiences to more people. So not just the lucky ones that are rich enough and healthy and young enough and can afford to pay for a SpaceX flight. And this is one of the reasons why I'm excited about the event of virtual and immersive and augmented and realities and so on, because suddenly you feel like, okay, maybe we can actually bring this to the masses. It's not just in specific labs anymore. So our lab and many other ones around the world are really excited of trying to study these transformative experiences and bringing them into the lab so we can actually study them. So we can learn to design for them, understand how they really work, and thus eventually make them more accessible. So for example, working with museums organizers together. So, but just going back, most of you are probably familiar with virtual reality by now, but just in case, so what is virtual reality really and why do we care? So here's just a simple example where simply by leaning in the direction you want to go, you can basically travel through virtual Vancouver. Now, what's special about this? Well, you can do and experience things immersively embodied that you couldn't otherwise do. For example, you could fly. So you can get an embodied sensation to flying. So in a way, we could say that virtual reality is the closest we have to lucid dreaming and flying dreams. I would propose that lucid dreaming is really the ultimate virtual reality, and we can learn a lot from that. We actually have a paper on that at EEVR if you're interested in going there. But you're still awake, and at the same time you're empowered, as if in a lucid dream, to really do an experience thing, fly through the environment just like Neo in the Matrix. At the same time, it gives you, if it works well, a direct, embodied, non-invasive experience firsthand. And you can more directly engage with it. So if it works, it doesn't feel like you're looking at a screen anymore, but you're looking through a window into the virtual world. That's the whole idea of virtual reality. That's why I got excited about it more than 20 years ago. So could virtual reality make us more human? Well, I believe it has the potential. It's certainly not there yet. But there's a few really important things. Like, we really need to ground it in strong ethics in terms of deciding which are really the experiences we should or should never create. I believe we should really democratize it as a creative medium. We should give more people access to these experiences, just like we're doing here in this lab, and also teach the skills to really carefully craft these experiences and then combine it with research so we can better investigate how these experiences actually work. Which ones should we really use? How do we really design for those? And also, which ones should we really do and which ones should never, ever be done? You must still wonder, well, why should we use virtual reality? I mean, it's still a bit of an effort. It's still a bit more expensive and so on. And let me tell you a story that for me was really motivated me to really go deeper into the direct experiences. So there's quite a difference between watching and something and actually being there, especially if it's something that is more on the emotional embodied side. So just a few years ago, when I was on sabbatical, I was lucky enough to be in Indonesia, and really we just wanted to go hiking and so on, but it was so hot that it really felt like, okay, I need to actually go into the water. So I signed up for a scuba diving course, and just on the second day of scuba diving, we went down at Batu Bulong, dived down to 50 meters. I was still fiddling with the gear, starting to learn how to breathe calmly. And once I looked up, I was just absolutely in wonder and in awe by seeing these environments, seeing all these fish and creatures actually not afraid of you, just looking back. So literally, I could almost hallucinate David Attenborough narrating my experience. And I had seen hundreds of hours of David Attenborough probably, but there was something that was really different. I also had somehow a direct visceral connection to this environment. I mean, felt this urge, like, we have to protect this. And I had never experienced this by watching the most beautiful documentaries on the most impressive IMAX or whatever screens. There was still something different about the direct experience. And I was kind of surprised how strong and visceral the response was, because, I mean, I had watched so many of these movies before. So I believe there is a difference between a direct first-hand experience and just looking at something on a screen or hearing about it. And of course, I wished, okay, how can we share this more? Wouldn't it, like, if more people experienced such a direct visceral connection, wouldn't we automatically start caring and protecting our planet more? It's basically similar to when you hold a baby or a little puppy in your arm. You directly look at it too long into the eyes, oxytocin gets released, and you get this bonding effect, basically. It's almost like you cannot hurt this creature anymore. Imagine we could create this with humans, and not just individual cute puppies, but almost the planet. It's almost like what probably happened to the astronauts. Somehow they felt connected and started caring more about it. And in a way, what I mean here is not this cognitive thought of, oh, yes, I should recycle more because it's good for the environment, so I'm going to get the recyclable mug. It's really the direct visceral connection and feeling out of which almost automatically can come a different experience, behavior, and cognition. So the idea is once you go that deep, then you don't have to think about it anymore. It comes automatic. It's like you would not shoot your dog or kill it or anything like that because you feel connected. So take a moment and think of an experience that touched you, that positively affected how you think, how you behave. Is there an experience you wish you could share with others? Or maybe an experience you wish you could have that you heard others have, like the overview effect? What if such an experience could actually be recreated or re-experienced? But often enough, this cannot be recreated. Like, will not become an astronaut. People might not be mobile, fit, healthy, rich enough to go to the Grand Canyon and have the epiphany there. So what can we do? So could virtual experiences also be transformative? And I mean, for a researcher, that's a pretty strong statement. So for that to happen, we would really need to show that virtual experiences can have real effects. So let's look a little bit at the literature. There's really interesting research going on, for example, showing that just by embodying an avatar of a different race, a different gender, that can really help to reduce your cognitive biases and racial biases. So just spending 10, 15 minutes, for example, for a white person in a dark-skinned avatar, was enough to actually reduce implicit racial biases. Or we know that superhero-like flying can really enhance our pro-social behavior. It's almost like by being the superhero, you kind of take on some of their traits. We know there's quite a lot of research in terms of psychology treatments, anxiety disorders, and it's clear that virtual exposure treatments can actually help if done well. We know that by being immersed in a virtual snow world can really help to reduce pain in active burn patients during the procedures. even just embodying an animal in virtual reality, even though it might not be that realistic, it can increase our connection to nature. Keep in mind, this is not like long-term studies, so that doesn't change people forever afterwards. But I think it shows that it goes in the right direction. So what about the overview effect? I mean, this is ongoing research. And it's not as simple as just like putting a head-mounted display on and shooting somebody out into a virtual space station. People tried that. That is not enough. So you really need to very carefully craft the experience. But the first studies we ran are really quite promising. So even just asking people to explore and fly and using an embodied interaction paradigm through a virtual world and going up into the atmosphere was enough to really have almost all people experience a sensation of awe, and half of them even experienced goosebumps. Not because it was cold, but they were really directly, deeply touched. And to us, that was really exciting because we know that awe is related to life satisfaction and is correlated with multiple medical benefits, such as reduced inflammatory markers, which again are correlated to many chronic diseases such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, or depression. So I think there's clearly a lot of potential, but also a lot more work that needs to be done. But you might still wonder, I mean, who can afford and who can actually create this experience? And indeed, when I started off in 1995 with virtual reality, just having a computer large enough to render a city that was so much simpler than the one you've seen here cost more than $1 million. But things have changed dramatically. I'll show you something. I really remember, so about maybe 5-6 years ago, I was at a conference, and that was pre-Oculus, so it didn't even exist. And over dinner, somebody got out this little thing that looked like a slide viewer, put in their smartphone. They were really small at the time. And this was really the first time that we could actually experience immersively a virtual environment over dinner without all the cables and big computers, rendering computers, and so on. And that was really quite motivating for us. So when I came back to my lab at Simon Fraser University, I thought, oh, can we really teach this? I mean, take it seriously. We've been teaching immersive environments for a while, but can we really use these devices and give people access to these devices? So we started redesigning a course and really asking people the fourth year undergrad course, to really learn Unity, learn these immersion theories and frameworks, and really design something novel, so going beyond what you could do with traditional media. And I tasked them to really create meaningful experiences. So no ego shooters, no porn, no horror games, no violence, but instead trying to design something that has the potential to really go beyond what could be done with other media. So as an example, here you could become a sea turtle and experience yourself how your home reef was destroyed by ocean pollution and climate change. I mean, would you take this more personal if you feel more connected to that? In another offering, we asked people to try and create empathetic experiences that strengthen the connection, especially to people that you might be less likely to know or experience. And after experiencing one of their examples, Parallel Minds, I indeed felt like I could understand a little bit better what it might be like to have a psychotic episode, because I got a virtual glimpse of it, of what it might really be like. And I was really amazed by the variety and the creativity that the students brought to this. With just a little bit of advice, so within 6 weeks, they were able to really learn a new tool, new theories, and apply it to something new, and create experiences they never had before, and share them with others. But probably one of the most amazing things for me was to feel that these students felt empowered to create something novel, something new, something meaningful. One of the students called it the, oh my God, I'm a wizard moment. The feeling that just within 6 weeks, you can learn a new tool, new theories, and so on, apply it and create novel, meaningful experiences and share them. You might still wonder, well, virtual reality, how about the ethics? I mean, isn't there a dark side to virtual reality? So don't people just become automatically more isolated, removed from reality, addicted and traumatized? And indeed, I am deeply worried about this, and this is starting to happen already. I mean, already we know from violent video games that playing those extensively is positively correlated to aggressive thinking, feelings, and behavior, which is also correlated to decreased empathy and pro-social behavior. And keep in mind, most of these video games are not even fully immersive. They're not really, you don't even feel fully present there. It's not really that embodied. So clearly, virtual reality and all these new emerging media have a huge potential for good and for bad. But like most more powerful media, I would argue it's not inherently good or bad, but it's also not neutral. What we do know is that it's becoming very quickly, increasingly accessible, affordable, and powerful. So we're already starting to be able to have almost medical-grade immersive experiences. So what do we do with that? How do we handle the ethics of that? In medicine, we have this beautiful idea of a Hippocratic oath and the mandate to first do no harm. I propose we really need a similar Hippocratic oath for virtual reality. This is something that the free market will not regulate. There's just no inherent interest in the free market in creating positive transformational experiences. It's still most interested in making money, and that is fine. It just means, okay, we cannot leave it to the free market alone. So could virtual reality make us more human? I still believe that it has the potential if we combine it with strong ethics, if we democratize it as a creative medium, if we give more people access to these experiences, these tools, teach them, like we do here, the skills, how to do this properly and combine it with research so we know how to create these experiences, which ones we should create, and how to bring this all together. So that we can ultimately design these positive transformational experiences. So if TED is about experiences worth spreading, could virtual reality be about experiences worth spreading? Thank you.